People are flocking to Minnesota, and they are spending money here in record amounts, and that is really good news. Visitors to Minnesota spent a record $14.7 billion in 2024, and the state saw a 4.6%, Ryan? 4.6% increase in the number of visitors. So I make sure I get my data right there. In all, more than 81 million people traveled to visit Minnesota last year. 81 million. I Googled it and I was like, what is 80 million? It's 10% of the population of the US. It is approximately the total population of Germany. Joining us to talk about it, Lauren Bennett McGinty, Executive Director of Explore Minnesota. Lauren, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, you have a big smile on your face, and I can see why. So this news came out about a week or so ago, and we've all been talking about it. Was this a surprise to you, or had numbers been trending in this direction?
Well, for the last few years, we've seen increases in numbers in tourism, which is great news coming out of the pandemic. And so we really love to see how it's evolved above and beyond 2019. But I think last year, especially with the little bit warmer winter and just sort of things leveling off in general after a sort of increase out of the pandemic, we weren't really sure how much more we would see growth, but we did. And, you know, we continue to see growth, like you had mentioned, in that visitor spending, in those visitors to the state. And I think it just really speaks to the great work that our team at Explore Minnesota does and how desirable Minnesota is as a destination.
So I think everybody wants to know, where are folks going? Are there certain hot spots? Are there spots that maybe aren't the traditional hot spots?
So I think what Minnesota really excels at, and I think we can kind of all agree to this, is that it's a great mix between urban and rural, but also between, you know, nature and the outdoors and kind of outdoor recreation and good road trips. We have one of the best states for road trips. In fact, I think this past year we were rated the best state for road trips. So I think a lot of it is that mix of things that you can do. You know, when you're coming with a family or a group of people, you want something for everyone. And I think Minnesota does that. So whether it is the Mall of America for families and international visitors, or it's kind of getting out into nature and doing hikes and sightseeing and really kind of getting up to the North Shore and seeing the beautiful lake up there, we have a lot to offer for people, and it's really good for all different kinds of groups who want to visit.
Yeah, and we've been seeing in the data over the course of the last 6 or 7 months that tourism from Canada has slowed, and just was reading a stat here for Explore Minnesota said that more than half of international visitors are made up of Canadians. I'm curious, just kind of generally speaking, what has that meant and how has that impacted things?
You know, we love our Canadian neighbors, and certainly we're always here to welcome them when they're ready to come. But I think right now what we're seeing is sort of impacting especially some of those northern counties, not as many Canadians who are traveling over the border, but also Air Canada continues to see some issues in terms of strikes, and so that's impacting it. But all in all, the visitation is down from Canada. And so for us at Explore Minnesota, our goal again is to be as welcoming as possible, but also to ensure that we are kind of pivoting in directions that we need to in terms of welcoming people for our road trips or even plane travel from other states. And one of the big things with our Canadian friends is that we have the World Juniors Hockey tournament coming up this winter. And so we're really hoping that we'll be able to get some of those folks back and visit our Twin Cities area, but also we have events going on around the state during that time. So it's a lot of really great opportunity to say, you know, we're here, we love hockey just as much as Canadians do, and we would love for you to come and visit and check us out.
Yeah, and you know, as we're heading into fall, I guess I have to ask you, because you're right there in the mix, where are some places, those of us who live here, I think even sometimes things are right under your nose and you just don't realize that, you know, like if you're in New York, maybe you've never been to the Statue of Liberty, you know, that kind of thing. So what should we be looking at as places to maybe go this fall and explore ourselves and invite our friends and family from other places?
Well, I think, you know, quick road trips are something that you can do whether you're in the Twin Cities or anywhere else in the state. And there are so many state parks in Minnesota that we always encourage people to visit those, run by our great friends at the DNR. But Fall colors in Minnesota, I think, is a really unsung hero here. We have fall colors going all the way up along the North Shore, but all the way down into bluff country too, along the river. Beautiful fall colors. And then if you go kind of northwest as well, you're going to hit some of those fall colors in the forested areas. So I really encourage people to kind of find what those pockets are. We partner with the DNR every year to talk about fall colors and the map of where where they're showing up and in what fashion. So I would encourage people to kind of get out and be in nature, especially if the weather is going to be as good as it was this last week. You know, you want to make sure that you're kind of soaking it all in before we go into hibernation mode.
Yeah. And then I guess finally, I'm so curious. We always want to know what other people think of us. What kind of feedback do you folks get with Explore Minnesota from people who have visited for the first time? Like, what are some of the things that either surprise them or that they love the most?
Well, I think one of the cool things that we've gotten to do at Explore Minnesota in the last couple of years is our ad campaigns feature people who have never experienced Minnesota. And so they get to come and show their genuine reactions. And I think if people are interested in what that looks like, they can go to exploreminnesota.com. But genuinely, people, I think, are so surprised as the accessibility of all the different things. So again, if you want to go to a museum, we have museums across the state. We have a beautiful museum scene as well as a theater scene everywhere from Duluth to the Twin Cities to up in Moorhead. So many great things happening. I also think the access to the outdoors, you know, if you're in the Twin Cities, you can hop on a rented bike and you can kind of do the greenways or the parkways, but you can also do gravel biking throughout the state. We have the gravel bike championships coming up this fall too. So I think there's just this idea that, you know, Minnesota, once you get here, you sort of get to discover things for the first time and are really pleasantly surprised. I think I have to put in a really quick pitch for our food scene, especially in the Twin Cities, but also throughout the state. We've got all kinds of different food, which are, you know, influenced by Scandinavian roots, indigenous roots, but also our immigrant population. And so it's really fun to see all of these different things flourish so that you can enjoy your time, and there's something for everyone.
Lauren, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We look forward to checking in with you again and seeing, hopefully, if this trend can continue. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, take care.